In this video, I'm going to talk about connecting a centralized controller. Cisco wireless LAN controllers partner with lightweight access points or LAPs to provide connectivity between a wired network and mobile wireless clients. The wired network infrastructure also transports the packets that make up the CAPWAP or control and provisioning of wireless access points, tunnels between the controllers and the access points or APs. Your first task to begin using a controller is to connect it to the network. From your work with Cisco routers and switches, you probably know that the term interface and port are usually interchangeable. For example, switch can come in 24 or 48 port models, and you apply configuration change to the corresponding interfaces. Cisco wireless controllers differ a bit. Ports and interface refer to different concepts. Controller ports are physical connections made to an external wired or switch network, whereas interfaces are logical connections made internally within the controller. The following sections in this video explain each connection type in more detail, but until now we learned that in wireless LAN controller we have two different concepts: interface and port. When we talk about the ports, actually we are talking about the physical connections. When we are talking about the interfaces, actually we are talking about the logical connections inside or for example made internally within the controller. We will learn a little more about these two concepts in this video and we can understand better the difference between the for example physical connection or port and logical connection or interfaces. Alright, first let me to explain a little about the controller ports. You can connect several different type of controller ports to your network, as you can see in this figure. First, for example, we have service port, we have distribution system port or console port, and finally redundancy port. Let me to explain a little about each of them. First, about the service port. This is used for out-of-band management or system recovery and initial boot functions. Always connect to a switch port in access port. Here, as you can see in this wireless LAN controller, we have a service port, okay? And also in this model of wireless LAN controller or WLC, we have a service port, as you can see here, service port RJ45. Again, let me to emphasize that this is for out-of-band management or system recovery and initial boot function, okay? Always we connect this port to a switch port in access port, okay? After that, we have distribution system port. This is used for all normal AP and management traffic. Usually connect to a switch port in a 802.1q trunk mode. As you can see here, we have multiple distribution system port. We can aggregate them and we can connect them to the, for example, switching infrastructure actually, okay? We will learn about it with more detail. After that, you know that with distribution port, actually we transfer all of the normal AP traffic and also management traffic. After that, we have console port. As you can see here, we have console port. Also here we have the console port, okay? About the console port, this is used for out-of-band management, again system recovery and initial boot function. Asynchronous connection to a terminal emulator with a 9600 baud rate, 8 data bit and 1 stop bit by default. Also, we have redundancy port. We use redundancy port to connect to a peer controller for redundant operation. Don't forget, between the service port and console port we have for example some similarities and some differences. About the similarity, both of them use for out-of-band management, system recovery and initial boot function, but service port has an IP address and we can connect it from for example remote device from our computer, okay? But when we talk about the console port, actually this is like the console interface in switches and routers. You need to connect it with a for example console cable, and after that with this configuration we will have out-of-band management. Actually this is a physical link that we can connect it physically directly